terms of growing the family wealth, growing, working in the family business. So it's some sort of form of investment in a way.
Like to have children.
So I have children back in the days, during my grandparents' days. But now, people can't even afford to have two.
Yeah.
They struggle with one. So it's things are shifting dramatically, and people are not understanding that the future belongs to the ones that owns the most kids. Because think about it this way.
It's facts.
It's facts. It's so much facts. People only the world has gone into a stage where people are too selfish. People are not thinking beyond themselves. They're consistent thinking about, how can I afford to create a household where I get to travel once a year, I get to do this. But they're not thinking about, okay, how can I make sure my name carry on for another 200, 300 years? How can I make sure that my lineage carry on for next 1,000 years? The only way that can happen, you need to have kids, lots of kids, and allow for variations. You could have one kid. There's a very high probability that one kid may not decide to reprocreate, to have more kids. Then guess what? Your lineage is gone. Your family name is gone. But if you've got 5, 4, 3 more kids, there's a higher probability from those 2 or 3 or 4 would continue the family legacy. From those 2 or 3, each of them will have a little bit more. Then, because not everyone will move forward having kids, maybe it could be to medical condition or even kids passing away. People don't allow for that. I know we're living in an age now where, the likelihood of, people growing and passing away is very lower compared back in the days where, there isn't that much medication, there isn't that much hygiene. So people passing away is quite normal that happens. But you still got to allow for this anomaly. You get hit by a bus or something. So it's quite crazy that people are not really thinking far ahead, which is quite sad, because now I can see it. We need to focus on the bigger picture beyond us.
But you look at it I think it's different cultures. Like, for example, the Arab culture, you see, even till now, the young women, they're producing kids, they reproduce. I think in different cultures at the same time.
Well,
what's instilled?
Well, yes, even the Arab culture, I would even argue the Arab culture are not really producing as much as they used to
be. Yeah.
But if you're to take into perspective, the Arab now, they're still producing way more than any other culture.
Facts.
And when you take that into consideration, then that means in 100 years from now, we're going to have way more Arabs than any other culture. Why? Because they taught in advance, ahead than any other culture. Every other culture, we're just thinking about their current generation rather than thinking about 100 generation after them, right? So the future belongs to the ones that invest now for the future, if that kind of makes sense.
What about for all the young people who say I'm not in the financial position to have children, or I'm waiting to be in the right financial position to have kids?
I would say it is crazy that people actually think that way. Now let's talk about from an Australian standpoint, right? So in Australia, it's like, let's go back to, I was born in Nigeria. My parents, we were 7, one passed away, right? There was nothing like government assistance, for heaven's sake. There was nothing like government assistance. But people had 7, 8, 10, 15 kids. How did they do it? We're living in an amazing country like Australia where the government can step in, can actually support. Now, I'm not advocating that people should go have kids for the government to support the kids, but I'm saying that you don't need that much to raise a child. You really don't. I think it's just a made-up excuse that you need so much money to raise a child. You don't need that much. And for those people that have more than 2, 3 kids, they can agree with what I'm saying in terms of once you have one, the first one is always the hardest, but once you have 2, 3, the kids kind of look after each other. They kind of look out for each other. They kind of entertain each other. It's actually a little bit easier in a way from a parent standpoint having multiple kids compared to the one.
Should one get married before they have children? Like a serious question for long-term longevity. Do you think you should get married before you have kids?
Well, from a traditional standpoint, yes.
Okay, traditional, okay, cool. But in terms of making a relationship work in the long run, someone, let's say, like myself, who's running a business, who has big dreams, whatever the case, for anyone out there who's watching this, should they get married before they have children?
So what is marriage? What definition of marriage are we talking about? Because there's different, there is the Western definition of marriage and there's the traditional definition of marriage.
Well,
let's talk about, let me use Nigeria for example. Do you know if a boy is to approach the father of the daughter of his daughter saying, can I get your blessing to marry your daughter? Once the father and mother gives you their blessings saying that yes, you can go ahead to marry my daughter, technically you are married. Technically you are married. Now if you want to go and push it further, because once they give you their demands in terms of what they want and you're able to deliver on those demands and you're blessed by the parents, you are married. So that's why I asked the question, what definition of marriage are you referring to? Are you talking about going to church, being in front of an altar, getting that kind of married and getting the certificates, that type of marriage?
Yes.
Well, that's one, listen, it's up to you. But from a traditional standpoint, the only blessing confirmation you need is from the parents.
So you're saying if you get blessings from the parents?
If you get blessings from the parents, you get confirmation from the parents that yes, you can go over, you can proceed in dating or, having a relationship or marrying my daughter, you're good. And you meet their demand, you're pretty much good.
Do you feel one should still need the parents' validation to still validate your love, or?
I would say yes. And again, from a
father, mother, or just father?
Both parents. If both are alive, both parents. Why I say that is when you're getting married, as much as we like to think that we're marrying an individual, the truth be told, you're marrying into the family too as well. Yes, once you get married, you go start your own life together. But the bottom line is you still got to deal with the parents. You still got to deal with the brother. You still got to deal with the cousin. So it's quite important for you to ask yourself that, do I want to deal with whatever type of drama this family comes with too as well, as regardless of how good this particular girl might be, because that could also bring some restraint, some issues to your relationship, either you like it or not. It will bring up drama.
Even if you're the type of person, you're focused, you mind your own business.
Even if you mind,
it can still.
Drama is still gonna come to you. It will still follow you. So this is where you got to do your research. You got to get to know the parents. But to be honest, you can't avoid it. You would have to deal with the parents. You would have to deal with the siblings, and you would have to deal with the weird uncle, the weird auntie that comes along from time to time. But it's all part of the beauty of it, right? So yeah. Everyone has a different opinion on this. My personal opinion, I would say yes. You need some sort of blessing from the parents.
Powerful. I think that's a very interesting conversation, isn't it?
It sure is. And everyone has their own perspective on how they want to go about it. But I'm just talking from a traditional standpoint, right? Traditional. When you're saying traditional standpoint, tradition means extended family. It's not just you. You're looking at the broader picture in general. You're looking at the community in general, right?
Facts. There you guys have it. Go get some children.
Go get some children. I love it. But kids, kids are the future.
Yeah.
We can't keep saying kids are the future and you refuse to have kids. How? If everyone decides to start having kids today, there is no future. Literally, there is no future. Now look at countries like Japan, even China, that had these restrictions. They previously had a restriction on limit. Now they're facing an aging population. People are not having kids anymore, and they're now seeing the deterioration of population, and they're going, well, we need to start encouraging people to have kids. And if they don't start doing that fast, they're in trouble. Big trouble.
Because they had a thing of like, you can only have one child or something like that. Like
well, I think they've abolished that law quite a while ago. I'd love to actually try to look it up, but yeah, the bottom line is, listen, I'm not saying start going around going crazy, having whatever, but I think we need to start factoring that as part of our strategic goal. It is a strategic goal. Kids are investments. So if you're someone that believe in the idea of investments, you need to have kids as part of your strategic approach. It's just a smart move. You know, if the kids turns out to be good or bad, then, you know, that's a whole different conversation completely. But it's all different strategic approach, having kids.
What about you and your partner, entrepreneurs, and you're building businesses?
That shouldn't stop you from having kids.
What about if the girl's like, well, listen, I'm trying to build this business. I don't have, like, where all the income we're investing into the business. Mm-hmm. Well, you're saying no excuses.
Listen, whatever excuse you bring up, you would, and you whatever excuse you choose, you own it, right? I can make up an excuse why cars are bad, and that's the reason why I would never own a car. I can make up an excuse why, you know, going into a relationship is bad. That's why I refuse not to go into a relationship. There's always good and bad in anything. There's always difficulties in anything. Yes, you know, I'm an entrepreneur. That's the reason why I don't want to have a child. Well, if that's your reason, that's your reason. You've given yourself. That's the stuff you've bought into. That's your reality. But the bottom line of what I'm saying is, for every individual out there that believes in strategies, that believes in investments, having a child is also a stratetic investment.
But some people are like, if I can't provide for my damn self, what makes me think I could bring a child into this world and have to make them struggle? There's so many people who feel like that. If I can't provide for myself, how can I provide for another human being? Isn't that selfish of me to bring in a child into this world?
And take the second exit.
When you listen to that statement, if I can provide for myself, how can I provide for a child? Well, this is already flawed. That statement's already flawed. That particular person doesn't really believe in themselves. There's abundance around us. If you believe you can provide for yourself, well, you're thinking it wrong. You're doing everything wrong. There is an almighty God up there, the provider of everything, that has said, come into the world and take dominion over the earth. We have everything. So this idea that you can't provide for yourself is a lie. And you've bought into that lie. So, you know, first, yes, probably work on your mindset and change that ideology that you can't provide to yourself to I can and I will.
And if I have a child, I'll give the child everything.
And you know what? The crazy thing about it as well, which people don't understand, think about it. It's like when you commit into something, let's say, for example, you say, you know what, I will do X, Y, and Z, and you commit to it. For some reason, the how to do it shows up. The same way works with kids as well. I would say to you, my kids were also one of the biggest motivator I had to become successful. If I had been casual, or if I had no kids, I think I wouldn't have been as successful as I am, because I had so many days that I was like, I really don't want to do this. Why am I doing this? Then I remember, God, I've got kids. I got to do this.
There's no option.
Right? There is no other option. So it depends on how you look at it. Either way you look at it, you're right. And you can look at it at a sense of good, as a force of good, as a way to drive you, or you can look at it as a negative standpoint too as well. It's really up to you. But for me, I would say having kids is a massive strategic move that everyone should take if they have the capacity, if they have the health, the mental fortitude to do it. Because at the same time, as much as I'm saying everyone should have kids, not everyone should have kids. Not everyone has the right behavior or right habits to raise another human being. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. But if you're in that, in that the focused mind, the conscious mind, then go for it. I think you just encouraged me to have a child.
Sorry?
I think you've just encouraged me to have a child. I'm gonna have to talk to my girl.
We're having a baby.
I need to talk to you about something.
And the beauty about it too as well, there's different stages. Like having a child in your 20s and your 30s is very different. Having a child in your 40s is very different. Having a child in your 50s is very different.
Like my dad said, it's better you have a child now. He's like, bro, have a child in your 20s. Like,
if you have a child in your early stage, it's harder, but in the long run, it's worth it. So it depends on everyone, and everyone has their own belief, but the energy you have that you can pour into that child is quite remarkable. Can I go through here? If I go,
okay, guys.
There's the other one.
See you guys in the next video.